We are back with another episode of Charlotte on the Scene podcast. I got my main man, Aunt Marvel in the building. How you doing, Aunt? What's going on, baby?
What's going on, champ?
Chilling, man. It's good to see you, bro.
Cold Wednesday, cold week, bro. Great to see y'all, man. You know what it is.
And also got my cut master, Cool V cousin L in the building. What up, baby?
Yo.
What up, baby?
What's going on? What's going on?
Chilling, man. Today we got a special guest in the building, man. It's a pleasure to have you on this platform, Dr. Kenny Robinson. How you doing, brother? It's
I'm
good to
doing
see
good.
you, man.
Glad to be here.
We took a long time to set up like we always do. I apologize about the tardiness. So how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Wanted to get you on this platform for a while. The powers that be made us moved mountains to get you out here. So I'm very grateful and thankful. I want to start off by saying, I want to get into your background. Where are you from originally? How did you come to this area of Charlotte? But what started you off with your mission and everything else that you're doing? But your background first.
So I am originally from 100 Terrace Avenue, Hempstead, New York. That is my home.
Uh-huh.
And I moved down south when I was a teenager.
Okay.
A big culture shift from Hempstead to Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is about 30 minutes north of Winston-Salem,
Okay.
with my father's side of the family. I'm 45, so I was a kid in the 80s, a teenager in the 90s, and many of us was raised by grandmothers, aunts, cousins, bouncing around from one family member to the next due to the impacts of the crack epidemic. Which, shout out to everybody who somehow, some way managed to escape that. But that was not me, nor my brothers. So that's how I ended up down south, in the streets. And in the streets back then was different from in the streets now. Like, the streets back then was, try to keep the lights on for the house and try to keep food in the house and try to help our family. Poverty looked different then than
Right.
it does now.
Right.
Which doesn't mean that poverty doesn't still exist. Of course it does. It's the fourth leading cause of death in the United States of America. It just was different times then. So, tough way to come up. So,
Now, question: when you were coming up, were you in a two-parent household, single-parent household? How many siblings did you have?
Nah, I was in like a lot of people from my generation. It was me and a younger brother, a sister, cousin, sometimes multiple cousins, extended cousins, raised by my grandmother and my father when he got out the joint.
Wow. Okay.
And my father, he was sick growing up, so we had to do what we had to do to buy things like medicine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No doubt. So what you've been from that time you were up north, coming up. What were some of the things that you got into? Like when I was younger, I get into a lot of things. It's just being a kid in New York, people don't understand. If you know it, because down south's a little bit different. Like down south, you catch a bus, you go to school. When you're growing up in the city up top, you have to sometimes you got to catch a transfer bus. You could be like 10, 9 years old off the stoop and you're catching a transfer, you're taking a train, and you can get into, you're going from borough to borough sometimes, you can get into a whole bunch of stuff. What were some of the things that led you into, you being an early preteen, that led you into things, decision making that happened back then?
Well, it's one thing to be in the projects. It's another thing to be the poorest family in the projects.
That's real. Damn.
Unfortunately, my mother, who passed away at 48 years old,
Sorry to hear that.
God bless.
struggled with drug abuse her whole life. So I was between my mother and her mother, my grandmother, who passed away at 54 years old from breast cancer. So my young years was rough, but we did have the culture of the hood before crack took over, right? And before it got too dangerous to be in the stairwells, and when the lights used to work in the elevators. And again, I was a kid in the '80s, so we was actually the first generation to have parents that was addicted to crack, because before us there just wasn't crack, right? And we was also the first generation of kids to sell crack. And the first generation of kids to carry a gun. So by the time I was a teenager, the president and his wife at that time said that we was hopeless, had no conscience, and there was no hope for us
At all.
And they designed a way to lock us up. And some of us is just getting out when Obama became the president, and then the rest of us was just getting out when Trump was the president the first time. So I mean that kind of lifestyle. So by the time I was 13, I was already selling crack.
It's crazy because, and God prepared me for this interview, I think, for us. I just actually watched the crack epidemic documentary on Netflix Saturday. And it's a great documentary if you want to check it out. But it was explaining how, there was a whole systematic view on how the crack hit the communities, especially because, you're from Hempstead. Hempstead's next to Southside Queens. And those are middle-class neighborhoods. So, where people moved to those Long Island and to Queens, they more so had houses than it was in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and the Bronx. And but it was talking about how systematically they would say that black folks were doing crack when actually 2/3 of America it was white people that were doing crack. And it was telling that in a documentary, and not making it a black or white thing, but it always showed us as the ones that were in that epidemic. And then they had a big thing about crack babies and things like that or whatever, and how a lot of crack babies were, when they were born, they were totally going to be lost because of what was going on during the epidemic, and actually was not true. But that was a crazy time for a lot of people. Can you explain a day how it was for you coming up in school, going home, going forth? Because I think that's what shaped a lot of us coming up, is how we are as men right now. Because can you describe, give me a day, a regular day that you had when you were growing up in Hempstead?
I mean, back then, we had schools, had shoes, they was called skips. I had them.
Skippies, yep.
Yeah, so, if I had on a coat or not, if my hair was brushed or not, if I ate breakfast or not, if I had seen my mother in the last week or not. So, school was rough for me in New York. I had one good experience in elementary school, and that was when I was in the 3rd grade. And that was because I had an opportunity to come down south for almost all of the school year for the 3rd grade. And I was in a school in Hempstead where everybody was black or El Salvadorian.
Okay.
And then I got down south, and then there was 2 black people in the class and probably 20 black people in the school. So my school years and times, they was rough. I don't really have no real good memories from school except for in the 3rd grade. And my situation and story is not unique. In fact, it's common.
It's very common
for my generation.
It's very common. Very common. It's common. I'm gonna let Cousin L and Aunt chime in, but I could tell you, growing up in New York City, I don't like going back. I don't like going home because it was PTSD for me. And I remember I never had a good time in New York growing up. And no matter how hard my mom moved mountains to get me in private school or whatever, I always had bad times. And I don't like going home. My mom moved to Jersey. I like being out there and then going and then going, and living out here down south. I love being down south. I mean, it's a different experience for me.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So I could see how people could sit here and say, okay, fine, this is not a situation where, I had a good time or whatever. People rep their hoods, but do you really love your hood? I mean, you know what I'm saying? This is a difference, you know what I'm saying? And so I would like to, and Lawrence, keep chiming in. I want to get you guys' opinion on that and, and everything else.
I mean, well, for me, I understand. I know the story. Everybody, if you grew up in the hood or you grew up close by or whatever the case, the stories are all the same. And there's not really too many people that actually won out of that situation. It's easy to say, why don't they just move out? Why don't they just go?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the finances are not there, and or it's just that you're just stuck. You know what I'm saying? You're just stuck, man. I mean, you got siblings, you got family, you got other different situations. So
Yeah.
I get that. When you left New York, and you moved to the South, was it like a total change, like your mental? Like, how was your spirit? Like, was like I got out, thank God, or was it just like this is a whole new world? What's going on?
Nah, I missed my grandmother who passed away. Even though my mother was in the streets getting high, I missed my mother. I missed the dudes I grew up with, my crew from my age. But again, you're talking about a group of youth who never really had nothing, right? And now we hustling. Right now we can buy our own Jordans. We can buy our own clothes. I mean, and then we had to carry a gun at a young age. Right. So like these is the kind of things that was on our mind, right? So
Right.
I missed home, but I was one of the lucky ones who had an outlet.
Right. Did you like some people get homesick and they run back, they keep going back and forth. Like I just moved out here myself. I've been out here for 2 years, and I don't know how many times I went back up to Jersey, and I'm a grown man, you know what I'm saying? But as a youth, did you running back up north and then coming back like frequently?
Well, the difference from me than some of the people that was in my crew is that I had like a lot of family down south.
Okay.
And like we was selling crack, right? So, we was uptown, copping, and then I'm down south.
Right.
Right?
Okay,
So I was, able to make more than I would have
absolutely.
been able to make less risk. So, I mean, it was good times and it was bad times.
Gotcha.
How many out of your crew? How many are left?
If you count 20 of us, maybe 8 of us is on the street.
Wow.
What y'all start with?
4 out of a crew of 20. That was like our crew. You had different crews because like some crews turned to getting high, right? Like turned to smoking crack. Like some crews turned to sniffing coke. Then you had the crews that smoked weed, and
Right.
then I had crews that came up in the Salvation at the Sal playing ball. Then you had the crews that was like mothers was getting high, pops was locked up, and like we ain't really have a lot of parental guidance.
Right.
Right, so we came outside early, and out of that crew, it's about 8 of us that's on the street now. I mean, we between 45 and 50 now.
Damn.
Wow.
So,
that's-
almost half is dead, and then the rest is locked up. And
I was
been in and
gonna
out of
ask.
joint.
My bad. Go ahead. I'm listening.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, bro. Like, what years, so people can know, like, what year did you get to the South? Like, when you got to Charlotte. And I know Cousin L asked about the transition. Like, it was like probably a culture shock, like Unc said. You know what I'm saying? So like, what was that like? What years was that? Like, what era was that
So that was
when you transitioned from up there to
from 92 to 92 to 97.
Oh, okay.
I came to Charlotte, and I mean that may be a segue into the work that we're doing now. But I came to Charlotte in 2012 when I got out the joint. I did 10 years in the feds from the age of 24 to 34.
Okay.
Word.
So I came to Charlotte, after doing my first and only bid, my first time out, I did 10 years.
Yeah.
And that was from 2002 to 2012. So from 92 to 2002, I was down south in the streets. I mean, you're talking to somebody who have a 9th grade education on paper, which means I completed the 9th grade and that was it. Kicked out of high school forever. Like, you can't
What high school did you go to?
High school. I did 1 year a high school up in Mount Airy.
Mount Airy, okay.
And that was it. They kicked me out of school. We was hustling in school. They said you can't go to high school nowhere. You can't even go to alternative school. The only thing you can do is get a GED. And I did that. I went when I was 16, went to the community college, got my GED. And I scored so high on the test, right? I scored the highest on the test for the people who took the test at that time. And they said, man, you can go to college for free. Like, we give you a scholarship because you scored so high on the test. And I'm deep in the streets now. I mean, I've already bought my first break by then. I'm 17.
Okay.
So I said, well, what's the most hood-like school you could go to? They said, Shaw University.
Yo, that's an
Yeah, that's sure. That's what's up.
But I mean,
They wasn't lying to you back
again, this not like times not like they are now. So,
Yeah.
Like, all right, so if you want to go to school, how do you do that? Like this, there is no internet. Like, you just look it up and I had to. And then I'm almost on my own. I'm living with my grandmother, but she's up in age. We've been in the streets. So, like, you want to do something, like, what do you do? How do you even find out? All right, well, you dial 411. The operator come on. You tell them you want the number, what number you want. Okay, so I'm Shaw University. I got the number. I called. And I said, I want to come there. So they sent me an application. You hand fill it out.
Yep.
Put it in the mail and send it back in. I did that, and next thing you know,
Well, nothing online back
letter.
then.
Well, it was no
Nothing
online.
wasn't
It didn't even exist like it do now.
Man, I remember when online first came out, it was the dial. Like when I went to Morgan, Bursar was like, there was a line around the corner, especially if you went to HBCU. You know what I mean? HBCU, you go to Bursar. It's not like the traditional PWTs or whatever. You got like they'll take care of you. Like when you go to HBC, you line around the corner. You gotta get your moms that coming in. And, it's just crazy. So you got Shaw. You went to Shaw. So I want to get into your segue into what you're doing now. So you did 10 years in the feds, and when and this is the fuel behind what the purpose of what you have right now, freedom fighting missionaries. How did you come from doing that time and then maturating into that? And your purpose behind it.
Well,
and if I skip something, I'm sorry. I know you got a lot to give.
I mean,
we got time. We here all night.
We won't be here all night.
We gonna be here all night.
When you in this work and you talk about being incarcerated, there's always a lingering question in the minds of the audience. Right? What did you do? Right? Because you must have did something. Like you went to prison, you was in prison for a long time. What did you do? Right? Before we get into that, what did I even go to prison for? Right? Well, I went on a bank robbery. I went to trial. I had 2 trials. I won the first trial. I had one juror that just would not vote for not guilty. Right? And they deliberated, and to the juror said, no matter how long you keep us in here, I'm not going to change my mind. Right? And the judge asked the government, what do y'all want to do? Like, do y'all want to retry the case? They retried it. And I lost trial in the second trial. Right. Now, again, back then, we was in the streets, we was getting money. I had caught a lot of cases, running over the police, shooting people, drugs. I mean, I had 32 felonies that was dismissed. I had paid lawyers $275,000 before I was 21. Wow. Getting cases, paying off the case pretty much.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I get my lawyer $25,000, and he get a DA 5,000, get a judge 10,000, keep the rest, and they dismiss the case. This in the 90s. You could do that back then in the state.
Right. In the 90s, 250 was like a milli.
Yeah.
Now.
So I mean, we were spending a lot of money, beating a lot of cases. So when I did get to sentencing at the feds, the judge said, you know, I'm looking at your record, and you know, you've been under investigation from the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, and the Middle District of North Carolina, the Western District of, the Eastern District of North Carolina, the Southern District of New York, Georgia. Right? They've been trying to get you for a long time, and even though you don't have no convictions on your record, you should have some convictions on your record. Right? That you had second chance after second chance, and now you are here before me. And although for this case you should not get no more than 5 years, I'm going to give you an extra 5 years for the record that you don't have, because you should have a record.
Wow. That's crazy.
So they gave me a sentencing enhancement for my criminal history severely underrepresented the seriousness of the things I had been involved in. So I got 5 extra years for the record I didn't have.
The jurors on your case, what was their makeup?
Like a jury makeup would be now. So 2 black and the rest white. And the feds, the pool of the juror is in that whole district. So like if it was here, like, okay, well, you might get 3 jurors from Charlotte, but some gonna come from Asheville, some gonna come from over there in the mountains,
Right.
some gonna come from, right, so, I mean, the feds have almost a 99% conviction rate. So for me to even win the first trial,
That was crazy.
what the details of the case was.
1 second. Did you when to cut you off? Did they ask for a plea? Did they give you a plea deal?
Well, automatically, with the feds, you would have a plea that's like a reduction in points, reduction in sentence. Yeah, so yeah, I could have taken a plea.
You know what was it?
And I probably would have did 3.5 years on the plea. But wasn't pleading not guilty trying to beat the federal government. The case just was the case that was that week. I mean, the government started off the case right away to the jurors that, although, and they're not calling me like Kenneth Robinson. The U.S. attorney asked the courts for permission to be able to use my nickname. Right? So he want to call me my nickname, right? So I'm not like a person, I'm like a street person. Right. So they started off by saying, like, you know, the evidence and stuff may show that Boot Flippin' they might not been the one who committed the crime, but he know who did. He had an opportunity to tell us who did. He refused to do that. So he's here, and his friends and buddies is wherever they're at. That's how they started out.
Gotcha.
The trial.
Yeah.
So all of that happened. I had 5 kids at that time.
Wow.
Was married at that time. And had already lived a lifetime. I had a trucking company, and I mean, still was getting money. And I mean, I had a life, and I had a family.
And everything had to stop.
And everything came to a stop.
Let me ask you a question, because this is what a lot of people in the comments, or some people, when I watch podcasts, they don't ask, well, why didn't you had everything you wanted, why didn't you just leave the streets alone and walk away?
And do what?
You had the trucking company and everything.
That's part of the reason that we do the work, which we will get into. Right? Stop and do what? Right? Get a job.
You said you had the trucking company. What I'm saying is you had some businesses going on. Did you needed the street money to keep that going?
Yeah, and a lot of responsibilities.
Gotcha, okay.
Some of us that supersede like any type of legit money at that time.
Gotcha.
And it was just almost didn't make no sense to try to fully do what? Go all the way legit and do what?
Gotcha.
I mean, when I started this work, that's what I'm telling the bankers and the foundations and the government. Like all of us wasn't like always broke.
Right.
So like $50,000 to some of us, like I lost $50,000 in the dice game in Brooklyn at 2:00 in the morning before,
Right.
and then just
Talking that shit right
yeah,
now. Talking
Let them know who's here.
stop hustling and do what back then.
Right.
These are the things that you do think of though when you laying on a cot.
What could you have done? You should have done. Maybe could have did things different.
Right. Now $8 an hour seem like, I probably could have made it from there.
You know what's
Because
crazy?
You want your freedom.
Right.
What's crazy is like one of my favorite younger rappers, Benny the Butcher. He got a quote where he say, "No 401k when you in the streets." You see what I'm saying? And that's something that's important for these young guys and young homegirls to understand. Because when he said that, we understand, but the way he articulated that was different. So like the fact that you're doing what you're doing now, a lot of guys and homegirls didn't have the opportunity to get out of that cycle that they put people in. You know what I'm saying? That's what's so important with what you're doing, with the work you're doing now. And I think that's super dope because it's hard for people to get out of that cycle. I watch family members, homeboys, homegirls, and for you to get out of it and still make a huge impact and build these relationships with these $1 million companies, you know, and build your company through that.
So that's the question. I mean, freedom fighting missionaries,
Real
right?
talk.
Assisting formerly incarcerated. How'd you get to that?
Well, when I was in the joint, I studied. I read a lot of books, read over 1,000 books. And, I got involved with some older brothers, right, who was trying to help some of the younger brothers, right, trying to show us a different pathway. And I got involved in Black history. I got involved in art. And I became one of the dudes in the joint, right? You have, like, the nation, and you have, the Sunni Muslims and Christian brothers, and then you have the different gangs, and, the Hispanics had their gangs, and, the white boys had their gangs. But then you have, like, some brothers who just positive brothers, like, we put on the Black History Show events in the joint, we put on the Juneteenth event, and some brothers took me under their wing and showed me how to do that kind of stuff. And I built a reputation for being able to get things done on a positive note.
Gotcha.
So I was able to get along with all of the different groups because, like, all right, well, if you want to have, Founders Day event for the nation, all right, well, I could probably get that done and get the ward and people to let people come in. I always didn't have no fear of speaking up for myself. And again, some of the education that I've received, specifically in the 3rd grade, I always could read and comprehend good. And then, I was gifted in math. Right? So I took Toastmasters in the joint, became a Toastmaster general in the joint, taught the Toastmasters class. Then I did events. Right? So when I got out, I already had my mind made up that I'm going to give myself a shot. Right? I'm going to try to get a job. I'm going to try to work that job, try to take care of my children who was in immediate need. Right? And immediate need during those times mean like tampons, lotion, it's picture day, it's cap and gown day. My oldest daughter at that time was 7 when I went in the 2nd grade, and 17 graduating high school when I got out. Right? So it's cap and gown day. Right? I'm out, I'm in the halfway house. I'm in Charlotte, a new city to me. Right? I had some family that came here, but I said, all right, well, I'm going to go to Charlotte. I'm not going to go back to no old hood. I'm going to go to Charlotte. Nobody don't know me. Right? So I don't have to worry about, like, I think it was a kingpin before he left. Now, look, he worked minimum on a garbage truck. Like, fell off. And see, I ain't have to worry about none of that because I'm in a different city. Then I was under the false impression that, Charlotte is the biggest city in North Carolina. Surely somebody will let me, like, clean the bathroom. Like, maybe I could get a construction job or, like, jobs that people with a record can get. that, you know, Trump said was black jobs, right? And people saying, oh, well, he said black jobs. Like, all right, well, we want that kind of job then, right? Because we can't even get nothing. So, I'd take a black job.
Right.
And this was the kind of jobs that I was under the impression that because you in Charlotte and it's a bigger city that you can get it. But in fact, at that time, Charlotte was the worst city in the United States of America that you could be poor, black, have a background, and have any shot at upward mobility. According to the statistics from them, right, that Charlotte ranked dead last in upward mobility for its own people. And when you talk about like your own people in any city that's in poverty, you're talking about the black population in those cities. Right? So it was a struggle right away when I got out.
I believe it.
Right, the plug said, "Oh, let's go." Dudes was out there getting money ready. Everybody need a leader. And I had learned early on that like soldiers want to be soldiers, right? And they waiting on a leader, and somebody got to be the leader and the general. And like the soldiers, some of them they'll wait 10 years for the leader to come back. So they was out there and they was ready, and waiting for me to get in that. And I'm talking about getting a job. So 40 interviews and 40, with 40 no's in a row. Before I got my first job, which was $7.25.
What were you doing?
At a Goodwill. Getting people's trash out their car because you take your trash to the Goodwill. Stuff you don't want no more. Right? That's like, oh, I don't want to throw it in the trash. Like maybe somebody could use it.
How was your mentality? Like, you came from like you said before, you were fighting cases. You spent like $250,000. Now I'm pretty sure you lived the lavish lifestyle doing what you were doing before. How was it humbling? And I said maybe that might be a dumb question, but I'm asking. Was it humbling going from that to that?
One of the biggest differences is the mind between a 24-year-old and a 34-year-old.
Talk to me.
Right? So, like, I'm older now. Like, my kids is teenagers and graduating high school now. And I had another baby when I got out. And I had something to prove, not just to myself, but to the many brothers that was coming behind me. Right? So I took all of those blows and took all of those no's and, brought home a $178 check after working 2 weeks because the halfway house took 25% of my check while I was in the halfway house. So I did all of that, and I put some change together to go in the store to buy a loose cigarette, right? And buy Black and Mild for 45 cents with pennies, in the store. And walk to the store to do that. And so I went through all of those kind of things and refused to give up, struggling to get things like identification. Healthcare is not guaranteed to you just because you got out the joint. To this day, I'm still denied life insurance because of the amount of time that I spent in prison. Right? You got to tell your story everywhere you go. And I went everywhere. I went to Goodwill, to this nonprofit, to that one, and clothes is over here, food is over there. Forget about housing. Right? If you can get a decent job, it's because your cousin worked there and he like said a word for you, and your cousins and your family like, all right, go to the joint and see who's staying up for you to their boss on a job they've been on in 15 years. And like my cousin who used to sell crack and rob people was out and need a job. Like most of us won't even do that for our family and didn't. So like all of these things I was battling and going through while working at Goodwill.
I believe Ant got a question. I want to say one thing. I just want to catch this real quick. My bad. I apologize.
Right.
When you got locked up, this is important to me.
Absolutely.
When you got locked up, when you came out, because time is the most important thing we talked about before you were on. What was popping? And I'm doing this from a perspective because you got to understand a lot of these kids are just eating time like it's easy. How much time you lost 10 years of your life? What was going on before that to when you came out, the adjustment, besides what you just said? Like what this is real. What rap group, what fashion, what was going on before and after you came out and how did you adjust? Because I had a friend that was locked up and he came home, it's not a funny story, he came home and he was wearing, we were still in school and he came home wearing Averex. Averex was done. And we looked at him, we was like, yo, why you wearing, like, we laughing, but typically, he lost time. He was still on what he was on back then. He was coming home, knowing what he knew. But it was a different world, you know, and especially 10 years. You come home to the internet, you come home to different technologies or whatever. How'd you adjust with that?
All right. Well, when I went in, the thing on the phone was ringtones. Like if you could download like ESPN sound.
Okay.
When I came out, iPhones was already out.
Okay, so you went in.
Facebook
Who was the
was
popular
already-
rapper when you went in?
I went in 2002. So I can give you. I missed the whole Jeezy, Gucci era. All of that. So. All of that, Plies, all of that era.
Every day I'm hustling.
10 years.
50 Cent run, all
10
that.
years
2002
worth of
was
all of that.
Ja ruling.
Yeah, so
You missed everything.
yeah,
Damn.
so I missed a lot, but more importantly, what I missed was the change in technology, which going back into, you know, what did I do to even get to a nonprofit, and how did I decide to do that? Well, after a year of being out, making minimum wage, struggling, I never gave up. Right? And you know, the most important thing in that is that I had people that was praying for me, family, right, that was praying for me, and people in every organization, institution, everything that's systemic in nature, that's by design, holds a certain group of people back. In those systems is always a person, right? And it's a person who work in there, and that person cares, right? And like, if you could like get to Miss Maddie, right, she might could work something out for you because she care about what's going on in the community.
Yes.
And I connected with those kind of people. And they helped to encourage me to keep going, to keep pushing. And I found myself in a car dealership taking some sales training, right? You know, no hair, fade, clean cut.
I did the same thing, so yeah.
Shirt,
There's some money there now. Hold on, some money
slacks and
there.
all of that. And
He was, my bad, Doc, he was selling cars, but he wasn't moving nothing a lot. They got rid of him.
yeah.
Hey, stop.
Wow.
I was number one car salesman. Stop.
He wasn't doing
Don't believe that. Hey, yo, stop.
He couldn't get rid of a Pinto. Hey, Doc, you know what I mean? Like, yo, he cap here, slide that cap in there.
down there.
Hey, listen, man. I did what I could. You know what I mean? Hey, man. Sometimes you gotta get that car when you can sell, bro. I mean, that's what it is.
Get my cat back. I'm gonna have to give it to somebody else.
So you're selling cars.
Well,
Yeah.
whoa.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
Because to even become a car salesman, I'm not at like Joe's used cars. So I had to beg my way into the dealership. Because I did the sales training, and they said no. Like, at the end of it, your record, and I had a brother in there. He was a manager. He was like, man, let me talk to the boss. I said, all right, well, where is he? He said, all right, well, here he come. And I stepped to the boss of the dealership. And I'm down on South Boulevard in a new car dealership, not like a used car, buy here, pay here. And
I know exactly.
begged the man for
I know
an
exactly where
opportunity.
I know exactly where you're talking about. You're right past. Yeah, I know what you.
I begged the man for an opportunity. And he said, man, well, why would I do that? I've been in this business 20 years. This is my livelihood. I have a family. Like, why would I risk my whole livelihood for you? Right. And people you going to elevate a pitch to people. They're going to say why. Right? You're going to have something to say real quick. Right. And I told him I was looking for an opportunity. I would not let you down. I have a family in need too. Right. So I'm not trying to look for something for myself. I have responsibilities. And I just need a shot. And he gave me that shot. And in 6 months, I became a top salesperson there, selling 20 plus cars a month.
That's what's up.
Oh, yeah.
And then, in 2 years, the owner of the dealership, he owns multiple dealerships, right? Mr. Keffer, he said, I'm going to give you an opportunity to learn finance. I'm going to send you to school out in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Like the finance school. And I got a record, right, for bank robbery. Right? So if you bought a car before, it's not like going in the store buying a bag of chips.
Right.
What's your name?
Right.
Where you work at?
Social
How
security
long?
number,
What's your
Security,
social
everything.
security number?
ID, everything.
Can I get your ID? I got to make a copy of
That's
it.
right.
And all
You got the whole-
those,
you got the whole
all of those
script.
things, right?
Oh, yeah.
I went out to Houston, Texas, went to finance school, came back, became a finance manager. Now I'm in the finance office in a suit.
Wow.
Doing finance paperwork. And then I eventually got promoted up to sales manager. And I stayed in that business for 8 years.
That's good. That's good money right there, though.
I retired from that business, got my kids through, did the best I could with my kids. I mean, I made well over 100,000 most years, and trips, and drove a BMW, had good credit, could have bought a car. I mean, could have bought a house down here where Rashawn lived down here. Like I could have bought a house down here, like where Rashawn lived. I had the credit to do that. Nothing stops you from buying a house because you have a record, right?
Right, no doubt.
Having a record will stop you from being able to rent a house.
Yeah.
Right, so I could have done all of those things. But what ended up happening is I hit the glass ceiling in the dealerships. Right, like, they're not gonna let me own the joint.
Right.
I can got keys. I can open it up. I've got staff under me, and I train, and very highly respected in the industry, even to this day. Like once you a top sales guy, like it don't matter what you're selling. Like, if you a top sales guy, like you know, I could sell your dream.
Right.
And I could sell shoestrings. I could sell shoestrings. Like somebody is the top shoestring salesman in the world. Nobody sell more shoestrings than this guy.
That's right.
Right. So
What they say, I sell ice in the winter, I sell fire in hell.
yeah.
I sell water to a well, baby.
That's right.
Let's
So
go.
I hit the glass ceiling, right? And along the journey in the dealership, I had stepped to the owner, Mr. Keffer, and my partner Gabriel Faria, who owns now 2 dealerships and partnered in 2 more. And I asked them, like, all right, well, y'all gave me a shot. Would you can consider giving other people a shot right, with a record? And they said, all right, well, if you train them and you be responsible for them, then, you know, we'll do it. I'm like, all right, well, they can't just be salesmen. Like, we got some guys, they want to be mechanics. I got some girls, like, they might want to work in the back office. They said it doesn't matter. And we ended up hiring over a dozen people. I trained them, was responsible for them. They are now homeowners and managers and stuff all across the country.
That's
So I
cool.
became
Hey, bro.
known in the community
Wow, that's dope.
in
Yeah.
Charlotte. And I was already a success story from coming from where I come from and my success in the car business. So I went back to all of the nonprofits. I speak at their events and all of that stuff as a success story.
Wow.
So I was known in the community for not just being able to help a person get a job or get a career. I had a following on social media for the things that I had accomplished and for going back and speaking. So I had some reputation, and the good Lord just put it on my heart to start my own thing. And I told them, the people in the business, I'm like, I'm retiring, not quitting. I'm going to retire from this, and I'm going to start a nonprofit. And they was like, you crazy. Like, I make money. I do whatever I want. I get to work late, leave early. Like, I could do whatever I wanted to do in the dealerships. And in December of 2019, I retired. And in 2020,
Oh, before 2020?
Yeah, I started. December
That 2020 money was good,
2019.
baby.
And I started in 2020. I started the nonprofit work.
Gotcha.
So with the nonprofit work, now I had the benefit of going to Doc's gala last year. He does a gala every year, and I had the benefit of being there last year, and it was an awesome event. I met some good people there. Can you tell me about that, because you've been doing that, and it's coming up soon as well. I want some more information on that. Of course, with your story, but I want to get that out there.
Yeah.
And what made you do that? Like, from the pivot from, training these people, but then, also doing that and having a gala with the nonprofit.
All right. Well, I mean, get to that. Right? Get up to that. You want to do whatever you want to do, but you got to get there.
I'm gonna need a spray on that.
Say no more.
And I'm going to turn a little bit towards Ant, because he's been in the community with us and doing community work and know most of the same people in the community
Awesome.
that I work with. So he know it's not easy. Right? You can have a passion, you can have a desire, but some of these things take money. People going to have to believe in you. Right? There is no money to be made in nonprofit work. Right? So you're not going to get rich. In fact, you're going to lose money. So I'm $500,000 in the wrong direction and lost revenue money I would have made in the working that I have not made doing this work. So I'm $500,000 in the wrong direction. And then we serve a population of people formerly incarcerated, justice involved, individuals and families. And you're talking about a population of people who, for the most part, can't even vote. Right? So you can't vote. Why do politicians even want to talk to you? Right? So as I'm talking, I
never thought
talk
about
all the
that.
time in this work. One of the things I always say is that the politicians, there's two places they don't go looking for votes or stumping. They don't go to elementary schools and high schools, and they don't go to prisons because children can't vote and people in prison can't vote. So no reason to even talk to them. And these are two populations that suffer the most in the United States, the youth in schools and people in prison. Right? So funding comes from politicians who advocate. So we trying to serve a population of people that nobody doesn't even care for. That brown, shivering, shaking dog they were showing in COVID raised more money than we did.
That's
That
crazy.
dog raised
'Cause that's
almost
a real-
$30 billion, right? Shivering, shaking dog. So
That's crazy.
ain't no money, ain't no funding, ain't no banks funding no second chance work and no reentry work, and it's COVID. Right? We out there with that blue and white mask hanging down, trying to assist the most vulnerable populations, and we talking about people who Joe the Panhandler supposed to get a stimulus check. Everybody does. Right? Miss Mary supposed to get an increase in her food stamps. It's COVID.
Right.
All right, log on, download. All right, we're going to send it on the card. And what about Joe? Right, who's going to help him? So we was out there in the streets literally with our phones and laptops connected to the Wi-Fi on our phone, like trying to help Joe get a stimulus check. People coming out of the joint with nothing. Coming out of prison, they did 10, 15 years, right? It used to be Piedmont Court when he left, like, that's
Piedmont,
gone.
yeah, been
Right?
gone.
It was, they were saying, like, yo, I'm from North Charlotte, like that. Well, that's gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Them folks
all
over
that's
there.
gone. They get back to their neighborhoods, and it's a white man there walking a little dog.
Yeah.
where
They
used to
paying
hustle.
$3,500 a month over there now.
Right.
You know what I'm
You
talking
said
about?
what?
Piedmont Court. It's $3,200 a month.
Yeah.
When it was Piedmont, before you, it was Piedmont. My cousin's from Piedmont Court.
Right.
So I know what he's talking about. Hey, and I'm not to cut nobody out. I'm
Nah,
gonna tell you,
just
bro.
speak.
Yeah.
What you saying? Because you know when you got to go to people's houses in their neighborhoods you never been in, or you got to go to your old neighborhoods and talk to them people and tell them we gonna help you. You look them in their eyes. You know what I'm saying? The landlord, you look them in their eyes, and you got to depend on the city, and you don't know what they might do or might not do. Because you talking about out of pocket. You can ask my manager, Vina Vaughn, right now. I love her. You already know. We've been around like 13 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of the younger guy in this. You know, y'all already been rocking. I look up to y'all. You know what I mean? You, Greg Jackson, Tia Warner.
Shout out to Greg. That's my
Shout out
dude.
to
Yep.
G.
Shout out to Chick.
Tia Warner, everybody, man. And it's like, I'm like, I didn't know it was like this because I was playing all that time. So when I came home, I could be hands-on. Then I got to hit stories like this. I got to hear my man Gemini's story. You know what I'm saying? All these guys is from my section that's doing stuff over there. I ain't know that's what they had to go through. I'm thinking like, oh, they just gonna know me and I'm gonna just go over there. Like, nah, you like that. You from over there, right? You're gonna have to do it just like them. You know? And then it's harder to get grants. They're like, he played in the NBA. I'm like, bro, that ain't how they supposed to work, right? And they're like, it's different levels to this shit.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you gotta really be patient and stay down if you really have an affinity to what you're doing
Yeah.
with the service. And I get it now, and we blessed. You gotta stick around though. Like, you been around it. He not lying about none of that shit, bro. So anybody that's gonna ask me, because I'm pretty sure people ask, how do you use nonprofit? How do you do this? How do you do that? Bro, number one is patience. Number one is patience.
So I want to ask you.
It's real talk.
Your aunt. It's a great segue to this because I know, you know, so like you being in Charlotte, getting those grants, getting that money and trying to help out and facilitate or whatever. How do you feel the Charlotte navigation of that is? You know, like, do you run into roadblocks, or do you run into situations where you see people? You know, how is it navigated? Because I know when you have a cause that you're working for, you know, it's not always easy dealing with certain people or dealing with different groups and stuff like that or whatever. So how have you learned to navigate that situation?
Well, it's hard. Because there is a Charlotte way of doing things. And you've been in Charlotte yourself long enough that no matter what you have already accomplished, it should have been 10 times that, probably for the amount of work that you put in.
That's why I asked you, but go ahead. Keep
But
talking.
there is a Charlotte way of
He's
doing
talking now,
things
and
and
that's it right
getting
there.
things done in Charlotte.
That's right.
That is a matter of who do you know, how do you know them, and how much are they going to vouch for you.
Yep.
And a disadvantage in Charlotte is being from Charlotte. Right, that's a huge disadvantage.
Talk to me now. Why is that?
Because the way that the demographics and economy is made up in Charlotte is unique a lot from other cities of the size as far as population. Because there's hoods on every side of Charlotte. North Charlotte, south, east, west, every side have hoods, and they stuck in their pockets. Right? And been mostly service workers. And generationally poor all the way back to when their families was working these fields. Hard to escape that. And then as Charlotte grew and people transplanted in here, right? Well, poor people don't move to Charlotte. Right? So the people who were moving here, they were the people moving here and getting the jobs in the banking industry, right? Getting jobs in sports and entertainment, while the people who were from here were continuously being left behind and stuck in service jobs like bathroom cleaning jobs, right? Simply because they were from Charlotte. But to answer your question, in the nonprofit space and navigating Charlotte, one of the advantages that I had, for one, I wasn't scared to talk. Right? Two, it's easy to tell the truth, right? And I have lived this. Right? And I would not and could not be bought for cheap, right? Because I had money before.
Got you.
And I knew the value of money.
Right.
Right. So again, $50,000, $100,000 wasn't a lot of money to me, so I couldn't be bought for that.
Got you.
And then, persistence and determination alone, right, is something that I had. One of the books that I studied the most is The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, that teaches persistence and determination.
That's right.
Right, and manifesting your own destiny. Right, which led me to, all right, well, you don't want to take my call. Well, you know I'm a sales guy. I call you 100 times.
There we go.
Well, Sean, I see we ain't able to get you around 10 in the morning. I'm going to try you back around 4.
Right.
Right? And I email you 250 times, and that's okay, Rashawn. You don't have to answer. I'll lie and wait outside your job. Right? And then have my pitch together to say,
Right.
while willing to sacrifice myself and my time and actually do the work.
Gotcha.
So we was doing the work, right? Using our own money, our own time, sacrificing ourselves, right? And collecting the information that we need versus saying, all right, well, if I had $1 million, I got this great plan, but see, I need $1 million to execute it. Right? We was doing the work, right? And saying, all right, well, this is $1 million worth of work. We got sweat equity. We spending our own money. We making an impact on lives. And most importantly, asking for help. Right? So what I did in 2020 and 2021 was develop a network that we now call the Underground Railroad of Reentry. And you would have seen it at our gala. You'll see it at this one. It's pictures of 17 different people who help to support us. Right? They like commissioners, like the sheriff, like the district attorney, like bankers. That they were saying, I'm going to them, I'm pleading, I'm telling my whole life story.
Right.
And, my mama was a crackhead, and it was so hard.
Right.
Everywhere I go, I'm telling the story. And they were saying, like, all right, well, in order for you to get to this point in Charlotte, you got to know this person, you got to know that person. But then you got to know what to say. You might have to tone it down some.
Yep.
So I took all of the mentorship. I asked for help, right, and remained to this day coachable. And then when I got in those rooms, I was ready. Some of the rooms we had to kick the door down and wave a gun around. Nobody moved, nobody get hurt.
Right.
A homeless person and her 2 kids in the car.
Right.
Like they're in my car now.
Right.
Like y'all talking about this data and we need to do this and that. And I'm like, the sister and her 2 kids is in my car.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and I need some money now to get them in the hotel room.
Right.
Like, so from doing all of that work and connecting with the right people, needing help to fill out a grant application. Right. And they saying, all right, well, you got to get your 501c3. You got to get a bank account. All right, well, you got to get QuickBooks now. You just insurance and stuff that you're going to need. And then I'm like, all right, when I come back, it's like, all right, well, I got all of the stuff that you said that I needed to do. What next? All right, well, you got to fill out I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Could you get somebody to help me? So, all right, well, we're going to send you over to UNC Charlotte, the professors and the students from there. They'll help you. All right, but now you got to go there. Right? So I did all of those things. And the biggest step for us was I turned my attention away from the government, from the banks and the foundations. And in 2021, I focused my attention on the behavioral healthcare system, right, who have a similar population to the population we serve. Mental health, struggle with that, coupled with drug addiction, right, tough population to serve.
Right.
Definitely a tough population to have and to move forward.
Why is it a tough population to serve?
Because mental health coupled with, it's a trifecta. Got a mental health disease, right? You didn't cause yourself to have mental health issue, right? It's a disease. Coupled with now drug addiction, on top of being black, right? So that's a trifecta of things that more than likely that person is not going to be able to move forward without intensive care.
And it's clinical.
And it's clinical.
So you can't just go into school and say, I'm a mental health specialist. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm talking about me and Greg, like we got the Mental Healthy Minds program.
Yes.
And it's not clinical.
Right.
But you can get through to some students.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing it where it's clinical, and you walk in there and say that, now you may as well start all the way over, bro.
Right.
Or you're never getting a chance again somewhere if you go in there talking about mental health like that.
Gotcha.
With these adolescents. You know what I'm saying? That's real. That's dope.
So what I ended up doing was getting an opportunity, me and my partner, white lady, got an opportunity to get the CEO of the behavioral healthcare system at that time, Cardinal, to come down off of his throne, because he was in one, in the NASCAR building way on the top, to come down, meet with me for coffee. It's COVID, like, so you still got on a mask and all of that.
No doubt.
Right, and I convinced him to come down and meet with me. And we went for coffee, and I carried him around, and I showed him at all of the tents and showed him, see this brother right here, he's supposed to be getting services from you. He did 15 years in the joint. His probation officer dropped him off at the shelter. He went into the shelter, and he came out with a tent, a mask, and a little thing of hand sanitizer. And they said, somebody gonna show you where to set the tent up at. So he gave me an opportunity to present to their board for my first grant. I ain't been in existence 18 months yet.
Right.
And I presented to the whole board, 2 black people and the rest, and white people in suits and stuff. And I told them the truth. If you black, you have a criminal background, and you're from Charlotte, that in fact you have a disability equivalent to a blind man. Right?
Say it. No. Put your hands down, talking to the mic. Say it one more time. I'm sorry.
You gotta run that back. You gotta run that back.
You gotta run that back.
I pled to them that if you black, have a criminal background, and are a Charlotte native, that in fact you have a disability equivalent to a blind man or a W amputee.
Wow.
The difference between the people that I'm talking about and the blind man is the blind man have somewhere to go. He can go right over there to the place for the blind and they'll help him. Right? And the W amputee doesn't leave the hospital when they say, all right, Joe, you're going to be all right, figure it out from here. No, he's going to get continuing care. Somebody's going to be assigned to help him and all of that. But the people that I'm talking about, there was no building on 4th Street. Oh, you serve time in prison, you have nothing, go into this building, the resources is there. That didn't exist.
Might be the analogy of the entire show, bro. That was deep.
That was it. It was real.
Oh, that was crazy.
They heard me and they gave us our first grant,
Let you slide.
$100,000.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I let you slide.
How I paused? Nah,
No,
chill
no,
out.
I'm just
No,
saying,
it's
we ain't
real.
gonna go
We
there.
told we gonna be.
We ain't gonna do that. We're gonna be being real cool right now.
No, I'm just chilling.
Yeah.
But no,
I talk a little different because he got little jewels on. You see,
Yeah,
his
I
pinky
see.
rings. He got new pinky rings on.
Yeah, I see.
I peeped it.
Father's Day.
It's light
Stop playing
work.
with me.
Light work. Light
Nah,
work.
hey, that was serious right there though.
Right.
Yeah, that was.
That's why.
I got something. I have to for all the. It's something. Dr. Kenny Johnson. I got something to ask you. Right. For all the car guys out there, because I'm pretty sure you got 1 million cars when 2020 hit, and you knew that there was no cars coming in, there was no chips for the cars. I was still selling cars. You didn't even have to do anything. I know you were in finance, but it was money. It was like money. It was the best time in the history of the car business to be in the car business. I know you got. What made you not go back?
Well, when I decided to do this work, I put all of my personal ambitions and personal wealth to the side because you can't serve both. Right? So
Did you want to go back? Tell the truth.
Nah, no, I didn't.
I know you got the calls, your homies and everybody. Yo, bro, we just get. Nah.
Nah, I didn't because my heart was already set on the work. And we talking about divine work, right? Like the only way you can do that, the only way that I'm even here is like the good Lord would have had to assign this to you at birth and help you to navigate all of the many things that I navigated because I know good dudes better than me. They've been dead 15 years ago. I'm 45, so they died when I was 25 years old. Right, good dude, right, smart dude, working dude. Wasn't
So really,
in the
no amount of
streets.
money really could have pulled you back.
Because you can't do both, right? Because if that was the case, I knew about crypto in like 2017. Right? I could have been trying to do this and do that for personal wealth.
Right.
I put all of that to the side for this work and sacrificed my children, sacrificed along with my sacrifice.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep.
serve
Because
the
all the guys in the car business, y'all know that 2020, 2021, 2022 run was the best in history. So if this man ain't run back and do that.
But, I mean, now we can look back in hindsight. All right, well, we've raised over $10.5 million. I wasn't going to make that in the car business.
There we go.
Right? And, we've now assisted over 5,000 people. We became very housing focused in this work. Because when we was designing the program, we designed it into 4 areas of basic need services that a person who is justice involved or leaving incarceration is going to need. Right? Number 1 of that is identifications. Don't even worry about nothing. You can have that. Right? You can have a driver's license or an ID. And you don't go down to the DMV, I just got out of prison, I have nothing, and I demand an ID or a license. It don't work like that. Where's your social security card? Where's your birth certificate? You can't get that without the ID, all of that. And then secondly is healthcare. Don't even worry about a job or housing. You don't even got your insulin or your blood pressure pills, right? You going to get a job and do what? Pass out at work? You don't even have your insulin.
It's crazy, bro.
And then from there is employment, skills, and training, right? See, I had never worked a job until I got out. Then, you learn what the word onboarding means. Right? You have to learn, what your tax bracket is, right? And then, you learn things can't look at sign you like that at work. Right. You can't say that, or you can't talk about it being on a cycle and all of that. You don't know that. Somebody got to teach you that. Gotcha. So, we knew that not just getting a job, but employment etiquette. You got to behave a certain way at work.
That's real. Dude, that's like the basics of the basics.
Basics of the basics.
Yeah.
And the first thing that learn in the car business, the very first thing that you learn above everything else is how to even shake hands and introduce yourself. Absolutely. Right? That's not a given, right? You don't somebody have to teach you how to properly do that, or you just don't know. Right? So these are the things, basic things. So identification, healthcare, employment, and then housing, with housing becoming the toughest metric. 3 times the rent, you got a record, your credit, you're black, you got kids. Right? So that became the toughest metric for us, but we designed the program into those 4 basic needs services. And then all of the other things that's around it that intersect with those things, like food, like mental health services and resources, child care resources, like all these things. So I was says to get you a job, right? You got 3 kids, but I don't have child care.
What's your? If I'm putting you on the spot, you answer or not. But what's your record as far as like getting people these assistance and them like being successful and maturating into society and them going back?
Our recidivism rate is very, very low.
Nice.
But we provide, intensive, ongoing services and case management. So you're talking about when I started, it was just me. Then with 2 volunteers, they wasn't getting paid nothing.
Right.
As we begin to raise more money, get grants. Another thing I learned in the car dealership is the marketing, advertising. I had to talk to a lot of vendors, like a lot of PowerPoint presentations.
Yep.
So I had that skill. I knew how to crowdfund. I already had a following online, right, and wasn't scared to get out there and speak to those things. So what started with just me and then 2 volunteers. Well, now I have 9 employees, right, all W-2 salaried employees. I provide them with 100% free health care. And 3 of my staff is master level social workers. They make $75,000 a year working for me to provide ongoing case management.
Awesome.
That's
Again,
amazing.
we're saying like, all right, well, this person has a disability, right? Like, so like they're gonna need like ongoing care, right? Some of them maybe for the rest of their life, right? And we have to be able to provide that for them. And then the percentages of what we would determine self-sufficiency is like home ownership. We'll take 5% of the people we serve. All right, well, I serve 5,000 people since. So 5% of 5,000 is like a large number to become a homeowner.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So as far as the amount of people who go back, they're more likely to go back if they're homeless, more likely to go back if they don't have child care resources.
Exactly.
More likely to go back making now $18 or less in Charlotte. More likely to go back, don't have the continued support that they need.
Doc, when you were getting out and you were faced with, because everything you're addressing is what you went through, is your experiences too. What made you not go back? Like what shaped you to say, look, do I have a choice to do what I want? This is what I know, or what made you not go back?
The persistence and determination. When you as a man, right, as a human, but spiritually, it's the people who were secretly praying for me, and praying for my success.
It must
And
have
that's
always
it.
been in you, bro. It must have always been you. Because even though I did my little time and I did some things, I'm not doing it. I worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I bust my ass not to touch nothing. I mean, I played a lot. I ran back a little taste, man. I ain't gonna lie.
You're snatching purses.
Hey, Rob.
Now you get the clap. He wasn't snatching purses. He wasn't snatching purses. No, that's your cat. He wasn't snatching purses.
Yeah. Come on, bro.
Right.
But I'm past. Yeah, see? Hey, check this to your man, bro.
He said what?
I was snatching purses.
Nah, well, I don't want to
Bro,
give.
it's your blood
I don't want to
cells
give
on
a
this
false
thing.
impression that
Right.
Because one of the things that we pled to those empowering those people that we knew could help us in this work was like, we out here in the community doing this work, and we still got to make something shake.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like we ain't doing this for us. Like, I left my job. Like, and Tia Wan, like, she quit her job to do this, and
That's not
other
easy.
people in the community that do this work, and,
Right.
at our level and greater, like, they left their careers, right, to pursue a nonprofit and
That's a
domestic
fact.
violence, to pursue working with chronic homelessness. Like Miss Deb at Black Love was in corporate. She left that to make almost nothing in nonprofit,
And
feeding
she
homeless
actually
people.
was a sponsor for her
Every
Herb's
day.
Party. Yeah,
Yeah.
Black Love. Yep.
So,
Yep.
We were saying like, all right, well, we still gotta make something shake to try to feed the homeless tonight.
Wow.
Right, or provide a hotel room for this mother sleeping in a car with 3 kids.
Word.
Right, so like we might have to do something.
Right.
Like, you know, so
That's important
the
too.
difference was like, is you trying to, you know, to become rich from this versus you trying to
Make
you
a
know,
difference.
Yeah,
That's where it's the
actually
balance
make
at when
make
you
a
talking
difference. Yeah, so.
I think
That's not easy. That's
No,
not
it's
easy to
no.
do.
And I think what people, and I'll let you spot me over talk you.
That's
But
all right.
like with people, like I think like people look at money and just always look at money, and all money ain't good money. I've always been a product of that. I have that like I don't do stuff with certain people because I don't. My conscience, my energy has to be built in a certain place. Your gala I went to last year, I saw a lot of, or gala. It was it was a lot of important people there. You had Elma Adams there. You had my boy Brewster there. You had Davis. You had a lot of good people there that were sponsoring and being there and speaking upon the work that you're doing. How have you made those connections with these people in your in your journey?
Doing the work. Right? You can talk about it all you want to talk about it. A good friend of mine and a supporter of ours, our first black district attorney, Spencer Mayweather, said it best. Right? That from his experience, what he have seen is that people who do advocacy work, right? They advocate, right? They talk about what needs to be done, what should be done, why, what the disadvantages is. And then you have people who like do the work. Right? They just out there in the trenches, grassroots, boots on the ground, just doing the work out of passion. But it's very rare to see a combination of both, right? Because of the level of sacrifice that it takes, not just financially, but to your body and your mind. Right? I was 40 when I started this work. I'm 45 now, but I aged 10 years in the last 5 years.
Don't let him give you the Kevin Hart, Don.
No, for real.
Hey, listen.
Don't let him do you like that, bro.
Get that gray. I know you probably don't play with it.
It's
but-
in the car.
All right, there you go.
It's in the car.
You ain't get a chance to get it right.
Hey Doc, I talked to you earlier. 'Cause I was like, everybody here got hair, and I'm jealous, but I will be in Turkey in 2 months. I'm
Hey,
come
look,
back
I'm
with
gonna be
Trevor. But yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. I'm listening.
So, do you know that blend between advocacy and actually doing the work and the sacrifice that it takes to do both?
Right.
Was a driving factor in us being able to move forward, and for people to support us in this work. Right? You have nothing without the actual people that we talking about who have to trust and believe in you to do what you said that you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right, and for us in our organization, I mean, you're talking about, all right, well, we had people that was in the hotel for 18 months. We paying the hotel bill for 18 months. I'm trying to build up a network of landlords. Right, and I'm pleading to the bank and the foundations and the governments for a grant. They said they'd never done this before. Right, so when we went to Mecklenburg County for a grant, for our first grant that we got for them, right, they gave us $750,000. They had never done that before for no black organization serving any population, right? And then on top of that, I'm like, all right, well, we need part of the money up front. They had never done that before, right? And then when I said, well, we want to build our own housing.
And that's a project you guys are working on.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I want to build out my own housing. People who look like you, darker than you. Right? He's dark, y'all, Rashawn. Right? Darker than Rashawn. They were saying, nah, they'll never do it. They'll never do it. Like our own people, they ain't gonna get you that to do that. All right, well, the city of Charlotte granted us $2 million.
Beautiful.
That's big.
And I took $1 million and bought $1 million worth of land. They said buy some land in the hood and Betty's Ford in the corridors. I said, I said, nah, I'm buying some land in University where when I build this housing project, the students automatically going to go to a good school because where I'm building the housing now. Right? And they're automatically going to have an opportunity to shop at Harris Teeter versus Food Lion.
Right.
And then Mecklenburg County, they gave us another $1.75 million towards that project, and I went out and I'm fundraising. And we have an annual gala every year to support our housing development and our ongoing operations. And people see the work. I mean, I've done a lot of news interviews and featured in newspapers and now internationally, Germany, France, the UK. But even for podcast work, every day I'm online. One of my staff, her job is social media management. Right? So we posting across all platforms several times a day. I'm out there. I've used my own name, my own story, my own face as branding.
Absolutely. Okay.
Like earlier, I heard you say all right, well, I post such and such, I get a lot of likes from that. Then I post something positive or something that I'm trying to work on. All right, well, I know the algorithm's not going to let you try to sell nothing for
Shadow ban. Shadow
ban. I'm going to let you do that.
Right.
So I'm learning, I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm studying on how the algorithm works. And then I'm constantly posting and seeking supporters. And those supporters come. Right? So even on our Instagram, even though I only have 24,000 followers, they're 24,000 loyal followers. So if I get 1,000 likes, those was 1,000 meaningful likes versus 10,000 just somebody looked at it and clicked. Yeah. People, when they go on our page, they're going to listen to the whole video. And then they're going to comment, and more than likely, mathematically, a percentage of people are going to donate. I can know that before I even post something, how much I should raise just off that post. Right. I know that going in.
Correct. And
who's going to engage and what states and stuff that they're going to be. So that serious. Right,
absolutely. You have to be.
Yeah, so anyway, all of that, from where I came from, how I got into the work and why, from 2020 till now. We're on our 4th annual gala. Each year it has grown. So in our first year, we was at Chima's uptown. Had about 80 people. The next year I moved it to the Mint Museum.
Mint is nice.
Had about 275 people. Had about 8 sponsors that year. And then the next one was at the Marriott. 552 people sold out with 39 sponsors. And this is, Wells Fargo, Ally Bank, Novi, Atrium, the government, sponsors like you would see just sponsoring any other kind of big name event. And this year we're at the Westin Uptown for 750 people with 68 sponsors. Right? So I had so many sponsors, and I'm selling $200 tickets. So people did not pay $200 to see Beyonce. They was I'm not paying $200 to see Beyonce, and didn't go. Right? And it was a show tonight. I'm not paying. I'm not paying to go to that. Right. They didn't go.
Yeah.
Right. So people got to go on there. They got to pay $200 for a ticket. And we now have so much sponsorships that donated the tables that we were able to give away 100 free tickets to senior citizens. I donated 3 tables to universities. So Johnson C. Smith got a free table, UNC Charlotte and Queens University, because I need those social work students to come and see the work and encourage them to pursue of social work in this work that we do, with the proof that we can pay you if you you're not going to graduate with a master's degree and we try to pay you $40,000. I could pay you what anybody else would pay you.
Put the date out there for the event.
So January the 31st at the Westin Hotel. Doors open at 6 p.m. If you have not got your ticket, you have less than 18 hours to get your ticket because we will be sold out in the next day. We might be sold out now.
Now, so who would you have at the last event, the last one I went to last year? Just
so our speakers, Chef Jeff. Shout out to Chef Jeff Henderson out in Las Vegas. He's one of the ghosts in reentry work. Was a top chef, the first black chef at Bellagio in Vegas after serving 12 years in federal prison. Boss man Bruce out of Dallas.
That's my man.
Tiki Davis
Tiki, yep.
out of Fort Worth
Yep.
in Texas. My main man, Dr. Kendall Taylor, he's the husband of Fantasia Barrino. Definitely a second chance warrior, good dude.
Great dude.
And then we gave out 24 awards to government officials and people in the community. Congresswoman Alma Adams
She
spoke.
was there, yep.
Governor Roy Cooper sent a special video to be played thanking us
Yep.
for our work. County manager Dina Diario oversees a $4.6 billion a year budget for Mecklenburg County. Received an award and spoke. So a number of people with lived experience, people who have got out, became successful after incarceration, along with government officials, community organizations. So, I mean, if we've raised $10.5 million just with our organization, we've assisted other grassroots organizations to raise over $20 million and created an ecosystem within the organizations in Charlotte to support each other, right? So our dollars recirculate. So like I have in this event, like Greg Jackson from Hill Charlotte, Tijuana, Dr. Tijuana Brown, because she received her doctorate along with me.
That's what's up.
Councilwoman.
Congratulations.
First formerly incarcerated council person ever in Charlotte. So like Greg have an event, or Tijuana have an event, I'm going to sponsor it. Right? So then when I have an event, they're going to sponsor it. So we move our dollars around.
I gotta stop you right there because Greg is from the Bronx and I don't deal with Bronx dudes like that. But I'll deal with Greg when I see him because he's from the BX and he's a little crazy out there. Greg, I'm gonna see you when I see you. We gotta talk. That's my guy. I want to tell you. I met you last year at your event. I didn't know the ramifications of what it was, and you guys have to go this year. If you go, it was a very special event. It was a lot of good people there, a lot of good keynote speakers. I think we didn't have time to dance because there was so many. Everybody was talking, so they're gonna open. He told me earlier they're gonna open a dance floor, but like it was an awesome event. I didn't know. Of course, when you interview people, they go deep into the situation. You don't know as much as you know from them just meeting surface and shaking hands and and talking or whatever. I'm very honored to have you on here. I've learned a lot from your interview, and this is the first interview where I didn't have to talk at all. And I want to tell you that because like people get in front of the cameras and they but you know your story, and it's important that you know your story and you can project it like you are, and I learned something. Sometimes if you always want to talk, your ears are closed, and you're not really taking in a lot of situations, and you're not taking in the conversation, or not taking in information that's being projected to you. With freedom fighting missionaries. I want you to look in the camera. Where do you see it going? What's your mission going forward? What are you trying to accomplish in the next 5 or 6 years with it?
Right, and that's not a thought. That is a strategic plan that's put together from a company that does strategic planning.
Awesome.
So the next 3 to 5 years for us is consulting work, fundraising, housing development. Right? Because I started this housing development project from scratch, not knowing nothing.
Right.
Right, and now I learned how to do it.
Right.
Which is something that you can't even go to school, university to learn.
Right.
Right. So we will continue more housing developments in Mecklenburg County and now throughout the country. Initially, I had a plan to all right, well, I'm gonna try to put a organization in this city and that city. And as I've been recruited to visit other cities, Memphis, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, New York, other cities throughout North Carolina, Texas. And I go out there and I meet with brothers and sisters who are doing the work in their own cities where they're from. And I seen that they needed for me to come and consult them and show them how to get to funding, how to do housing development, sometimes how to speak, sometimes how to shake a hand, right? And all of the things that I learned in Charlotte doing the work is what's needed across the country, because we have some beautiful people around the country who's doing and have been doing outstanding work. But at some point, you got to go down to city council and speak.
Right. Yeah.
You got to go to the county commission. You got to
Put your
fill
face
out a
out there.
grant.
Yeah.
Right. And like people guided me and showed me. So that's what's next for me in the next 3 to 5 years, is to show others around the country, around the world, how to do this work. And then for the organization, just continue to grow and expand and focus on housing development. One point that I did leave out that I do want to get in is that we became the first reentry organization led by a formerly incarcerated person to ever receive Section 8 housing vouchers specifically for this population.
Wow.
Now, a Section 8 housing voucher is the single most important piece of paper in the history of poverty. Like, there's no greater thing that can happen for a person than to get a Section 8 housing voucher if they're in poverty. And one reason to not even get on the 5-year waiting list is to have a record. And one way that you could previously lose a Section 8 housing voucher is for your son to catch a charge.
Yeah.
All right, mama, you got to either kick your son out or y'all all got to go.
Yeah.
So we fought that on a national level to HUD and won. So now they removed the box from Section 8 housing vouchers about having a background or somebody catching a charge and the mama got to move. That's over with. And they issued us 18 housing vouchers back in 2022. We successfully used all of those vouchers, housed all of those families. And now we receive Section 8 housing vouchers from Enlivian, which is the housing authority in Charlotte. That's specific. Like, you can't get one of our vouchers unless you have a background. Right? That's the only way you can get one of our Section 8 housing vouchers. And our housing project, when it's complete, will come with project-based vouchers, which means each unit has a voucher. Right? So the person doesn't even have to have it. The unit that they're moving into has it, and they just have to fit the criteria. And I set the criteria.
You said the criteria. That's
Right,
important.
right,
That's
right,
important.
Say that again, man. You
But
set
I
the
said it
criteria.
like, all right, well,
There
the
we go.
voucher lasts for 3 years.
Oh,
you got
man.
to work or this or that or whatever I set
Right.
the
Yeah.
criteria as. So that much credibility and work have went into that, like, you know.
You're giving me
If today is my last day, then they're going to say what they're going to say.
yeah.
Right.
You're giving me. I don't know if you ever heard of Carl Stokes. He started HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development. You're giving me his vibes right now. I love it, and there's and knowing about real estate and learning that it's important for people to know what we go through. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
No, not
No,
all
no,
good.
yeah. Chime in,
what's
please.
going in my head? I know Charlotte and scene is starting to get a nice reach out there, not just in Charlotte, but across the world, right? And there's a lot of people in different states, man. They just can't afford to live there anymore. I came from Jersey. I know what it is up there. Everybody's struggling. You know what I'm saying?
Jersey has some of the highest taxes in the country.
It's crazy. I mean, y'all can front for y'all one on the ground, but I know what it is. You know what I'm saying? How can they reach you? How can people reach you and figure out a way to get their living situations correct? And I know Charlotte, you got to take care of the Charlotte people too, but also we all family at the end of the day. I mean, people just need help out here, man, and they want to better move to a place where they're comfortable and they can get some work and get some things moving in their life. You know what I'm saying? Like, how they can contact you and or get things moving out here.
On our website at www.freedomfightingmissionaries.org.
There we go.
And follow us on every social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn,
And you live all the time.
Twitter X. Yeah, I mean, we're posting constantly. Like, for somebody in need of help, or for somebody that's even interested in doing this work, they could literally go on one of my pages, scroll back to 2020, take their time and come up till now, and the blueprint is there on social media for free on how to do that.
Gotcha.
The people who, because we are very busy, the harvest is so plentiful with people needing help and services, it'll never run out in the next 5 lifetimes. Right? So we're never at a need for referrals. Right? We have a waiting list today, housing waiting list with 152 families on it. Our housing waiting list. Every day, me and my staff have to make decisions like, all right, well, this person got 3 kids, this person got 5. Well, this person is on disability. This is a grandmother raising her 3 kids, right? And they're all in a homeless situation. Like, who do you pick? Right? Who gets to go to Hill Charlotte? Who have to go over there on Sugar Creek? Who got to tough it out in their car for a few more days until, like, you know, like a spot even come open for them?
Wow, man.
And there ain't no guarantee that you're going to get in your own housing in the next 3, 6, 9 months or a year. And every day we got to go through referrals and, you know, sometimes I answer the phone and it's not who I thought it was.
Yeah, right.
Be weird.
And now I got to listen to the story and it's nothing I can do. I want to help them, but like, well, you're in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Or like, it's really just not nothing that I can do. And sometimes I answer the phone and like, the person need help, but the help that they need was somebody to just listen to them, right, and guide them to a place.
Right. Okay.
Right? And say, all right, well, when you call this place, say it like this, and that.
Okay.
Right. And what ends up happening, like it happens to me now, like I'll be in the Walmart, like, I follow you online. Like, I called you, you was like this and that. Like, I've been on that job for 2 years now. Like, I got my own crib. Like, I just bought a new car. And, like, I forgot about it.
Right.
Like, and it was just like a 15-minute conversation that I was like, you know, do this, and that. And
Amazing.
that's just how it worked out. I would like to say I'm ill, right? There's never nobody like me.
No doubt. No doubt.
Right? But the truth is
Talk your jump, bro.
the good Lord have just
Pop it.
been there for me. People have prayed me through.
That's what's up.
And just like any measure of success, you're going to have to get up and go.
Yes.
Like, you ain't going to feel like it all the
Tell
time.
me about it,
like,
bro.
yo,
That's
fact.
Tell me about it.
like, they just, you know, I keep losing.
Yeah.
Like,
Tell me
you know,
about
I
it.
went on 35 interviews and got told no. I went on 40. Like at the end of the day,
love
like,
you know the number.
you got to get up and go,
That's right.
right? And you got to put in the work. And yeah, you might be 50 before you hit your first million. Some people can hit it at 15. Some people like you got to be at 50 if that's what you want, right? But keep pushing and keep going, and that have been, as an individual, my greatest strength, right? I would get up and go. I even want to come here. Like, I'm working. I got a $200,000 gala that I'm putting together.
I know, he's busy.
And
yeah.
staff and work and
Yeah.
all of that. Like, I even want to come here. I thought it was virtual.
Hey, chill out.
I'm like,
Listen,
since this was Sean,
Hey, cut him off.
since this was Sean,
Cameras on.
since this was Sean,
No, brother.
since this was Sean, I guess I'll drive 30 minutes. 18-degree weather.
We appreciate it.
Podcast.
Get on it. Shoot, man.
Nah, brother.
Hey, but before y'all close it out, man, I just want, hey, big homie, you already know we know a lot of the same people. I'm gonna tell you, man, I heard a lot about you. Like I told you, you came in. Appreciate hearing your story and you sharing it. Yeah. And for the generation, I guess, like right there, that's doing what you're doing, and seeing you guys work like that and have mutual people, and gonna continue to make a change in the city and really get more support. I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.
And then hearing your backstory,
Thank
of course, because that's everywhere, like you said. So appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna let the guys close it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk New York Fly.
Appreciate you.
Supposed to be in here, so you gotta come. You got where it's gonna be. I'm gonna talk my smack.
There you go.
At the end of the day, you know, I'm glad, I'm blessed to have you on here. A lot of information was shared, and I learned a lot. And a lot of your story is a lot of mine growing up a little bit, and you know, and this is an awesome experience. I'm gonna get a babysitter and come to your event. I'm letting you know right now. So I'm gonna be there. But thank you for coming here and blessing us with your presence. And Doc, I want to tell you something. Your journey is your truth, and your path is your truth, and your journey is not done yet. You have a lot more to do, and you have a lot of responsibility for brothers like me and cousin L to learn from and to go. And I'm going to watch you all the way, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to be vigilant in learning from what you do, and put it into my situation and my energy, and take your energy as well from what you've been doing so far. And I thank you so much for being on this platform. I'm very honored, and I want to tell you that, brother.
Yeah.
Cousin.
Yeah, I mean, well, your story sounds similar to me, only maybe yours is a little bit more gangster. You know what I mean? But been behind them bars, did all that stuff, had major success, moved down to Charlotte, of course, 2 years ago, started my own company, left the car business when it's booming to make less than half of what the heck I was used to. You know what I'm saying? Start my own transportation business, but I feel good. Ain't nobody got to tell me, where you at? You know what I'm saying? Only time is when I book something, I better be there. You know what I mean? Where you at? I mean, but so I said to say is that for you to, a lot of people don't know the money that you walked away from, but your passion was there, and just to know that you could have jumped right back in the streets and did, but you probably knew that. Listen, there's only one way in the jail or in the under in 6 feet deep. So I commend you, man. It's an amazing story. Actually, maybe 1% can do what you did out of the population of the world type of vibe. Like, I'm being honest, because I know thousands of hustlers. Half of them are dead. Most of them are still doing it, and they just can't. They can't make the transition to do anything else. You know what I'm saying? For you to be able to do what you've done, man, please. Man, I congratulate you, brother.
Thank you so much,
So-
and thank y'all for having me.
Yeah.
And
But
I will be back.
But yeah, you better be back. Now, I'm gonna get on you. Now before we wrap up, we got a cap session.
Right.
Top 5 MCs.
Top 5 MC
Top 5 for you.
for me.
Yeah.
Number one,
Talk to me now.
number one, Rakim.
Rakim is number 1. Okay.
The people who come behind him wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for him.
Right.
Okay.
Right, with, second from there, Jay-Z.
Okay.
Jay. Okay.
Right. Third, Nas.
Nas. Okay.
It's my favorite rapper ever. I got
That's
you.
his favorite
Not like that.
Fourth, Tupac.
Pop. Okay.
And fifth, Big. And Big and Tupac is where they're at because of the short life that they live.
Short lifetime span.
That's a tough 5.
That's
That's
good. Best 5 I've ever heard.
That's might be the best top 5.
Yeah.
You got the
That's
God
probably like
MC
the best
number
one
1.
right there. Like,
Hov number 2.
That's probably
Nas
what
number
mine's at.
3.
Man.
Who's number 4? You got
No, yeah. Rakim.
He had the God
He had Jay-Z.
Hov
Rakim,
2,
Jay-Z,
Nas.
Nas, Pac, and Big. I mean,
Pac and
that's the Mount Rushmore.
That's about
Yeah.
So
you can't
the
get
younger
no
crowd
more.
will be
Yeah.
like,
I mean, who else
Yo,
stepping
I
in
like
there?
that.
Yeah.
If I had to say 6, then that would be my man, Face Mob's Scarface.
Scarface,
Say
yeah.
6.
Okay.
But that's my top 5.
Wow.
We're going to have a part 2. We got to talk music then, because you know what you're talking. Next time we gonna do that.
Please come back.
Yeah,
I've had people where we've been on here. We've had some great interviews, and we have a time limit on what we're gonna do. But there's so much I think we did not unpack, and I definitely want you coming back for a part 2. But I'm blessed to have you out here. I'm blessed to come. It's cold as hell outside. I know, and you're on the other side of town, but I'm blessed to have you out here. I want to say it's a wrap. Charlotte on the scene. It's a wrap for this one.
Episode 38. You know what time it is. Episode 38, baby.
I am Dr. Kenny Robinson, founder of Freedom Fighter Missionaries, a 501c3 Charlotte-based nonprofit serving formerly incarcerated and just involved individuals and families. And I am here live on the scene with Charlotte on the scene. Please check them out on their Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Follow them. Please be sure to check out my interview, which just aired right now. So please check us out, Charlotte on the scene. Thank you.